I think love is much like a tree where an individual could be burning in the sun, dying of heat and just starting to burn up in the skin. And the tree is there to say, I have love for you, here's my shade, come in and I will protect you, I will take care of you. The tree gives the shade freely, doesn't try to entice or coerce the individual to come into the shade. It says, here is my shade. And also the tree doesn't differentiate between who that individual is. Still gives it freely without any kind of attachment or condition or anything like that.
Your heart, not the one chosen, either left behind. Waiting for your turn to shine.
Catherine came to me one day and said, I'm going on a bus tour, you want to come with me? I think Catherine had the question, I want to know what love is. I mean,
like
that
the
was
song
one of
Foreigner, right?
Yeah, it was the Foreigner song that she thought really typified what her quest was. I want to know what love is. And part of the love tour was an exploration of what is love.
I think you can show me.
Yeah. We started in Ottawa and moved to Victoria and came back. It was a total of, how many kilometers did I say it was? I can't even remember.
30 days on the road.
It was a lot. It was a lot. We were on buses almost every day. And we found it even odder as we went along, is that it didn't tire us. It was exciting. There was
Speak
something.
for yourself.
I'm sorry. It didn't tire me. It was exhilarating, every bit of it.
I love bus travel.
Because we knew that buses were the kind of place where you could really meet the people. We told people about our project and asked two basic questions. How does love show up in your life? And the second question, if you could stand on a stage and tell the world one thing you know for sure about love, what would it be?
Don't get married, get a dog.
It makes you crazy. Love makes you crazy.
Love is the current that underlies everything.
To me, I kind of cling to love as the one thing that actually is worth clinging to.
Love starts with yourself. You have to love yourself first in order to be able to extend that energy to others.
It's so easy to love other people, but why is it so hard to love ourselves?
Since I have grown to love myself, I feel more excited with life, more enthusiastic, and then I can bring more love into a relationship.
We're drawn towards love and connection because there's so much joy and meaning in it. To not have it hurts. To be alone hurts because in the end, what do we remember on our deathbeds? We don't say, oh goodness, I'm glad I did those emails. But usually people say, I've been loved and I was loved.
We really, really fell in love with this country in a way that I never had before. It's the people that we met that really, really stayed with us.
The biggest surprise was how open people were to the whole project. Everybody knows something about love, and even if they don't realize it, but this was an opportunity for them to discover that. And so you would just have to scratch a little bit below the surface to discover this unbelievable wisdom that people had. And even people you never would have expected to come out with these gems about love.
If you didn't have love in your heart, you would hate everything about life. You'd hate taxes, you'd hate having to get up and go to work, you'd hate the cost of fuel, you'd dislike traffic, weeds, grass, you name it, it would irritate you some way, shape, or form, right? Whereas if you just wake up and come to the understanding that, thank God, I got another chance at this for one more day, everything in your world will be somewhat positive.
I would tell everybody that we need to treat each other the way that we want to be treated all the time. Whether or not you're having a bad day doesn't mean that you need to push that bad day onto somebody else. Every interaction that you have with everybody you meet should be based in respect and love for that person.
Yeah, you can't always expect something back. It's not always about reciprocity. Relationships, there's reciprocity, but love, there isn't always that reciprocity. And you have to be open to that, which is hard.
Love shows up in my life of the town and people. I just love. My grandfather always said, never let anybody leave your house hungry. and nobody ever did.
If it's not real love, don't waste your time. I've wasted time in the past, you know, like thinking that, okay, I will fall in love, but, you know, you can't force it. It's got to be there.
We know, for example, in the words of one of the bikers we talked to, that I am love. That's what somebody told us. You never thought of that before. And now it's just in my head all the time. I am love. Go ahead, work it out, show the world.
I found out a long time ago that I am love.
Of course, there's always conflict, but well, we try and discuss it. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you just have to, you know, take a little breath, go for a walk.
When we do have conflicts, we try to, you know, be open and talk to one another about it.
We try not to be mad and go to bed mad. Try to at least kiss goodnight, even if we're not talking.
There are different kinds of love. There are different degrees of love. As much as I dearly love my wife, some days maybe a little less. Some days far deeper.
You have to want to love somebody. If you don't love them or they don't love you, you could love somebody with all your heart and they could never love you back, and that will never change.
We tend to think about ourselves over others, and that's usually just more of self-pride and not respect, and, you know, you lose the community. That's where you get the breakdown of love and the natural connection with other human beings, you know.
At the time we began our bus tour, we were going through a really rough patch. And for me, it was an opportunity to do a project with her and to show that, yes, we're really partners and that we can really do things together.
If you want to feel love and have a real sense of love and being loved, you have to risk being vulnerable.
You okay with me talking about this?
Go ahead.
You know, I think in many relationships, and maybe most relationships, there's one person who loves more than the other. And in our relationship, it's Jean who loves more. And I have had more doubts about the relationship.
You take the risk of opening up and showing somebody your soft places and your vulnerability, and they respond to that. And you have this moment of beautiful synchrony, connection, safety. You start a beautiful dance.
I think that there are times when I've thought, you know what, you would be way better off trying to find love somewhere else other than trying to find it with me.
And I, on the other hand, try to fight that by saying, I'm going to show my love by staying with you.
Damn it.
We're built for connection. Love is a wired-in survival code. It's not just about sentimentality or sexuality. We're built for this. It's shaped our nervous system, it's shaped our brain. Love turns off fear, allows us to feel safe in the world, to engage with the world. You know, the more securely connected to other people we are, the more confident we are to go out and explore the world.
We're still dealing with issues.
It's in trouble in different ways.
But as I said, those issues are not still resolved because I'm still me, but I have a lot more resources to draw on now. And I think that sometimes when we have these issues that we're able to work them out a little better. It's not perfect.
We started out with a microphone that clicked and popped and hissed a lot. Maybe you noticed that. You know, whatever the challenges were, these people had incredible wisdom to offer.
They would wait in line to be interviewed. They'd be like, I'm next, okay?
Let me tell you, love is wonderful. You should speak with your heart and soul. You should speak with innocence.
Love needs to be shared. You don't just keep it in your own little self and forget about your neighbors or your friends. You share it with everybody you possibly can.
If you speak with your soul, you know, the world happens. It really does. And you, right here, don't speak with your penis, head, or anything.
In what ways can't you manifest love? There's loads of ways that you can manifest love. Just the person that you meet on the street, just giving them a smile, to be friendly to the people that you don't know, to even your friends, your best friends.
So discipline is also a form of love. So some Chinese Oriental people say, if the parents does not discipline their kids, the kids will be disciplined by the police.
What I'm trying to tell you is love is most important in life. And if you don't have love, you don't have life.
We're living in a virtual environment. People are staring into their cell phones all the time. People aren't relating to each other. And what we found is that there's no shortage of love. And there's no shortage of dimensions of love either.
Whatever happened to that culture where people just hung out, and it was just, people could come over for coffee, and it wasn't like this huge deal to get together. Now, emailing each other or texting each other to find out when is a good time to talk on the phone so that we can plan when is a good time to go for coffee. Like, it's insane. It was totally refreshing to see people just talking about their lives and being present to one another as opposed to totally being on their cell phones.
So my suggestion to most people is, please turn the TV off. Talk to people. Put your mobile phone down. Actually talk to people. If you're on the metro, if you're on a bus, talk to the person next to you. They've got something to tell you.
Love, it requires the ability to listen, to be present, and for your sense of what will I get out of it, what about me, what can I get. If that's in it, then it's not love.
There's a very strange phenomenon, I would guess, in human nature where you're more willing to open up to strangers than to your own family.
There are no strangers out there, really. There's just, friends you haven't met yet. It's kind of cool to think about living your life that way, to really have that kind of trust that people are okay.
I have had more just support from strangers. It's been really true love, and there are people that I've only even met for 2 days or 3 days that I feel like I'm connected for life with them.
There was a woman whom we interviewed who had had an arranged marriage. I had to kind of open my mind and say, okay, let me consider this for a minute, what that might be like.
In our arranged marriages, love comes after marriage. In my culture, it's in your mind that yes, you have to start knowing your partner, and then you start falling in love with that person. I found my true love, and I still love him. Although on my 20th anniversary, he took me to McDonald's.
Won't come back until the cold wind blows.
Here's a tune.
Love is music in my life. It always has been. Whenever I hear music, whenever I'm playing music with friends or by myself even, it literally just fills me up with emotion.
If I was ever in a coma, I said, play music for me, and I would come out of my coma. That, to me, I could not live without music.
Music would be one of the biggest things that really brought love to myself. Not only sharing my music, but listening to what other people had to say.
It's always been my love. I've always had a hard time with trusting people and having love between people, but with music it's unconditional. It doesn't hit back, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't try to control or anything. So
But music to me is my life, my love. It's almost like an orgasm.
I've had an amazing family. My mother has shown me so much love in getting me up in the mornings to practice and making me lunches and doing things for me.
Love, it's mostly influenced me by my family. Just love you don't get from something else. And then my mom in those last moments when we were saying goodbye to each other, it's just something that you find and that should be cherished. And love with your family, it's strong and it should never be taken for granted. And it's just a strong part of my life. My family is everything to me because of that.
When my father passed away when I was 14, my mother kind of came back into my life, and she never really wanted to leave. It was more me pushing her away. We're closer than ever now, and it definitely feels good. It's comforting to know that you have, when you lose one parent, that you still have your mother there, and I'm grateful that I have her, and I'm grateful that we're at the point in our relationship now where we can speak and express love to each other.
I work in the mining industry, so it's fairly dangerous. And now I find myself evaluating every situation that I'm getting into to make sure that I'm going to make it home at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, what's the most important thing now is my kids. So.
By seeing my parents be that in love and being, you know, even through the good times, the bad, no matter what happens, they're always there for each other. And I think that's so important, to find someone who, even at your worst, they love you all the same.
And that's so much love. Like, she loves me so much, and it's just like, oh my God, why am I so lucky? Why am I so lucky to have this love? Like, I'm so fortunate to have the family I do, and all I want to do is keep that ball rolling.
I'm not an animal lover, but we ran into one woman in Swift Current, and she talked to us so much about the unconditional love of animals toward people. And she had such amazing love for the animals that, to me, that was one of the most touching parts of the whole trip.
They were absolutely filthy. They were starving. They had ear mites. I washed them up and I cleaned their faces, and then I bottle fed them for about a month. They trust me explicitly to look after them. And so, because I'm awful, you don't want that on the tape. But I look after them until they're big enough then to go back to the shelter. And when they get back to the shelter, they go on our website and people see them, and then they come in and adopt them. And it's a big moment of joy for me when I see adopted underneath one of my little babies. Because I know then that all of the time that I put into that little baby, it will go to a home and it will be loved forever. Cats and dogs, they don't care if you're fat or you're skinny or you're pretty or you're ugly or you're bald. They just love you.
To me, love is one of those indefinable things. It's health-giving, it's joy-giving. If I tell somebody I love you, what that means is that I want the best you to develop in the world, and I want to be able to help you do that.
My experience and having this one in my life, literally, I know this sounds so very cliche, but it really inspires me to become a better version of myself.
It's a dynamic that inspires me to evolve in areas that are not my strengths, to really kind of sharpen that tool, and that my strengths are honored and are respected and are valued and are valuable in our dynamic.
Love means to realize the great, bigger potential for everyone. Because if my potential is the best potential, if it's true potential, my dream, it should be communal. All the people, all are happy.
All the people we interviewed, some of them talked about various types of love. To some of them I thought, why am I not there? A woman in Victoria talked to us about loving the unlovable.
I have seen some experiences of people in my life who are loving someone else who really society would consider to be unlovable. a woman who had a terrible skin condition on her face. And my aunt just loved that woman and gave her physical love in a way that she would hug her and kiss her face as if the face was pure, beautiful skin. And I think that woman just felt for a while that she had a beautiful face because of the way my aunt loved her, even though it was difficult to do.
We were lucky to find out early on the trip that we could not do interventions. We weren't there to do interventions in people's lives. We were there to witness what they had to tell us. And we were surprised at how moved we were by people's stories.
My husband and I lost our son 20 years ago. It was so hard on us, and it was really hard emotionally. And it was really hard to support other parents that go through the same loss. But just recently we experienced this young couple that had twins, and their one twin was diagnosed with a rare genetic illness where the baby didn't live long, and so we were able to witness them and their love of their child. It was hard, but it was really sorry. It was healing too at the same time, and just to be there to support the family. And the mom said, she said, I don't know what it's like to lose a child. She said, but you do. And but I think that's what true love is. I'm sorry, my voice is small.
The Book of Joy is the interviews between the Dalai Lama and the Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and they talk about, well, what is joy and what brings about, lasting happiness. It's always, always, always service.
I believe love's giving is a constant laying down one's life in a myriad of ways every day. I believe a songbird gives song to the world without asking for anything back. I believe a flower naturally gives its perfume to the world, doesn't ask for anything in return. My grandmother was this big, beautiful, fragrant rose. Love is characterized as a giving of self, a sharing of self. And she did that constantly with everyone.
The core of all religious, truly profoundly spiritual and religious life is love. Love in the Christian sense, love in the Buddhist sense, the sense of universality, of boundlessness, of the self not being at the center of it. No more self, no more greed. I mean, just think of all of the world's problems that could be solved if universal love were truly practiced and applied.
To me, what was the most impressive was the people who had really had a difficult time and who had almost an intuition that the way to respond is to give love back to the world.
You gotta love everybody, especially what I went through with my son there. He did something awful. He went to prison. Well, I hated him for a while there, but I was going to write him a nasty letter, And then I thought back. I said, if I did that, he would have killed himself in prison. He would have hanged himself. I forgave him. I wrote to him. I even went and visited him, and I told him I love him. You can't hold a grudge. You can't hold a resentment. Even if people hurt you, you got to forgive them.
I wouldn't have chosen to go through those things. At the time, it was horrible, but you kind of, you do have a choice of who you become after. At every step, we can choose how things are going to affect us. If we're going to react with anger and bitterness and hatred, or react in forgiveness and look at the other person and say, you know what, they have problems and are damaged too.
There were people who said to us, I don't know anything about love. Even if you have a lousy track record, there's something in your life that you love. There's some passion, whether it's a love of place, whether you love music, whether you love your work, whether you love God, whether you just like doing things for people. Everybody knows something about love.
There's nothing without love. There really is nothing without love. And if I'm not doing something with love, then I need to learn how to do it.
The role of love, it's the whole enchilada. Love is both the means and the end. It's all you need to learn. It's 100% of the teaching.
We seem to have agreed all through the centuries, this is it. Everyone's agreed love is a mystery. And what's really happening now for the first time in human history is that that's not true anymore. We are starting to do with love what we've done with other things in our universe, which is put it under the microscope. What this movie, asking people about love, all the research says that we can understand it, and it's more powerful, more important, and more worth struggling for than any poet has ever captured or any philosopher has ever suggested. It's not the icing on the cake, it's the whole damn cake.